I want to bring in some of our top intelligence and military sources. Former Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Beth, and the former Deputy Commander of U.S. CENTCOM, retired Vice Admiral Bob Harward, with us. Beth, it's an Israeli source telling us that Iranian construction, telling the U.S. that Iranian construction and activity at Pickaxe increased after the 12-day war last summer. What can you tell us about this particular facility?
So it's not operational as far as what open source would tell you, and nothing that we heard in this this particular leak tells us otherwise. And I think that this is kind of an important idea, right? It's not like this facility is necessarily up and running, but there's a lot of activity there. And so you wonder why, right? And some of it is clearly, from what we can tell, some of the tunnels have been reinforced, so if we struck it, it wouldn't collapse as easily. This kind of activity is going on. But, you know, Pickaxe in the future, the plan was for it to replace Natanz as a centrifuge production facility. That's what the Iranians announced. But of course, it's such a big facility. No one's ever been there. We don't have schematics, but it's a huge area, and it certainly could be expanded potentially to do uranium enrichment. But that said, you know, I would say that the reason it has not been struck so far in this war, not once, and we have struck dozens of weaponization facilities, of fuel production facilities, of enrichment facilities, dozens, but not this. So it suggests to me that it was not an emergency.
When you say no one's been there, you mean the IAEA has not been in
Yes.
there as they have been in other facilities.
Yes.
I wonder, Admiral, as you're looking at what the president is saying here about this plan, is this something that makes sense strategically?
Well, it is important. Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow have all been destroyed. This was the back out, and as you noted, where they were going to do future. And we know activity there. That could be any capacity left over, anything they brought to put in there and reconstitute. So as we've always seen in the past, they moved to reconstitute. And as she said, the International Atomic Energy Agency Director Rafael Grossi said, we had no access here, so we have no knowledge. And he also said, we didn't really know where all the material are, where all the centrifuges. So there's a big intel gap here. Let me just add one other thing. So clearly, they're going to try to reconstitute. Now, how fast they can do that is one problem, but number two, our ability to know what they're doing. So that accelerates the need and the focus on Pickaxe, because it now becomes their crown jewel for any nuclear program.
If there is a military operation at this site, a U.S. military operation, what would that look like? And what is the difference between just hitting something that is this, I mean, it's a huge granite structure, essentially naturally, right, to protect this area. What is the difference between just hitting it with a bunch of missiles to try to create sort of a sense of having struck it and actually taking it out? I mean, what is the difference between those two things?
Great question. And there's two environments you can create. Is this a permissive environment where we have access and can go in? Or is it non-permissive where we have to fight our way? And the same issue we're dealing with in the Straits now. If we went in non-permissive to fight, they turn those missiles and drones on our forces on the ground. So if you clean out the Straits, and don't forget the priority right now is the Straits, making sure they can't control the Bab al-Mandab. If we take care of that by eradicating their missiles and their drones, then we can go in there with minimizing any risk. So if we have to go in a non-permissive, go in to fight, but they can't threaten our forces from the air, then it's doable. But it's a large operation. We've trained for this. We've done other sort of facilities, practice to do this, so we have the capability, but the environment you do it in dictates the risk.
And I would just say that, I mean, that would be great if we could do that, but I just don't think that there's any way that you can actually eliminate the missile and drone threat, as Secretary Higgs said today. There's a lot of underground facilities, you know that. And it's just not, you know, I think that the reason that they're still able to strike now is it's not just the coastal environment. You can fire a drone from way in the interior. And I just think it's going to be really, really difficult for us to get there. And that's the conundrum we have, because we're working it. We're working it hard, but we're not there yet.
Where do you see this conflict going? I mean, we see the Secretary testifying today, Admiral. It seemed that it was unsatisfying to all the Democrats there and a number of the Republicans.
Without a doubt, it's unsatisfying to everybody. At the end of the day, it's in everyone's interest. The threats, these missiles and drones, if they're not dealt with now, and I think this will be a long-term threat to the Gulf and everyone in the region. And that's why a coalition needs to come together and understand this long-term threat. Their ability to control the straits and have a nuclear weapons is just unacceptable to everyone. So we have to find a solution. It's a tough problem. This is a tough war. At the end of the day, if we don't deal with this now, this opportunity, and we go through another elections, we'll never have the opportunity, and it becomes a long-term strategic problem for everyone.
Beth, thank you so much for being with us. Vice Admiral Harward, thank you as well. Really appreciate it.